Hello guys and gals, and welcome. So today we have a special episode. This episode is the top 10 most underrated unique items in Diablo 2 Resurrected. Um, the list has changed a little bit from Diablo 2 because obviously things have changed. Before we get started in the top 10, let us go over some items which I consider to be runner-ups, and those are the Night Smoke Belt and the Bloodfist Heavy Gauntlets. The Bloodfist Heavy Gauntlets are probably one of the most broken low-level items in Diablo 2 Resurrected, boasting a massive 30% faster hit recovery at a time when there are a lot of characters which are very poor in faster hit recovery, and a massive 40 life at only level 9. These honestly are just kind of insane gloves. They also have 10% increased attack speed on them too, if all that wasn't good enough. But honestly, the characters that really want to utilize these gloves are actually the characters that don't need increased attack speed. Early level sorceresses, early level necromancers, basically all of the characters that have absolutely god-awful faster hit recovery breakpoints and usually end up getting stuck in faster hit recovery loops, these are your go-to gloves. The 40 life combined with the 30% faster hit recovery will make your life so much easier as a low-level sorceress, for instance, which is one of the worst classes for faster hit recovery. Believe it or not, fully upgraded Bloodfist Heavy Gloves are actually best in slot for some characters. It may have changed a little bit ever since the Shapeshifting Druid has been adjusted, but they are still very, very nice gloves. We also have the Night Smoke Belt, which I feel like also is a very underrated unique because of the massive 50% damage taken goes to mana. There's really not a lot going on for this belt. I mean, it does have a decent amount of all resistances with 10. It has a little bit of mana, it has decent defense, but really the clincher here is the 50% damage taken goes to mana. If you're a Whirlwind Barbarian, if you're a low-level Paladin who's utilizing Zeal, if you're any kind of character who doesn't necessarily want to have to steal mana to get that mana back, but you're in there getting beat on, basically any melee character whatsoever, and you want to have infinite mana, the Night Smoke Belt will literally give you infinite mana, because as long as you're in there getting beat, your mana will constantly be regenerating on a regular basis. And it works very well for Whirlwind Barbarians, because as you whirlwind through the monsters, they are hitting you, and as they are hitting you, they are regenerating your mana, and as you are whirlwinding, you are burning the mana, and you will literally never run out of mana if you're using a Night Smoke Belt. So let's go on to the list here. This list is not in any particular order, so don't assume that I'm saying, like, this is the number one on the list. No, this is just the top 10 in no specific order. And we're going to start out with a very interesting one, which is the Swordguard Executioner's Sword. So the Swordguard Executioner's Sword is a highly defensive item. It is primarily used by barbarians. In fact, I would pretty much say that that's probably the only class that would ever utilize this piece of equipment. But when you utilize this piece of equipment, you will notice that it just has massive defensive stats. And if used in combination with something like the Storm Shield, Monarch Shield, you really will have an amazing defensive character. Now, I don't necessarily recommend that you utilize this as your main hand weapon, but what you can do is you can have your offhand weapons, and then you can have a swap to, which is essentially your defensive set. And your defensive set would essentially be, the way that you would dish out or take the damage. I mean, it has faster hit recovery, it has increased chance of blocking, it has 495 defense based on character level, 200 defense versus melee, 100 defense versus missile, all resistance is 20, and then on top of that, just like the Night Smoke Belt, it also has damage taken goes to mana. At any point, you could utilize this sword as an extreme defensive mechanic to save your life if something is going wrong. It also has a massive negative 50% requirements, which means that just about any barbarian can utilize this, even one who is running a very low strength and very low dex build. It can also be upgraded to the Colossus Blade to enhance its damage, and you could potentially find an ethereal version and Zod it to get even more damage out of it if you actually wanted to use it to kill things. But it is an excellent, excellent sword for defensive purposes. It is not an offensive sword. It is a swap to for defensive mechanics, and if used properly in that context, Swordguard is actually an amazing weapon. Next on the list is the Shaftstop Mesh Armor. Now, the Shaftstop Mesh Armor is one of those uniques that on the surface it doesn't really seem like a whole lot. I mean, it doesn't have any all resistances. It doesn't have any, like plus maximum life, but it does have a decent amount of life on it. It doesn't have any, like interesting mechanics like a lot of armors do, like increased attack speed or faster hit recovery. But what it does have in a massive quantity is physical damage reduced by 30%, which is just absolutely insane. And in the ethereal form, the defense is massive, even at level 38. Putting this piece of equipment on a mercenary or a player can massively increase their survivability versus melee attacks, ranged attacks that are physical based, and in general just make it so that your mercenary or yourself can survive so much easier. With the addition of a socket and with the addition of upgrading the piece of equipment, you can make it into something that's even more amazing. For a player, of course, you would probably want the non-ethereal version, and you would probably want to put something like an rune in it. But for a mercenary, you would want to upgrade the ethereal version, and the ethereal version upgrades just so freaking well. And you can customize the piece of equipment, to your own devising. Maybe you would like to put in, an IAS jewel so that your mercenary attacks faster, or put in a ruby so that it has more life, or put in, a shale rune so that it has more faster hit recovery. There are many, 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 many options with the Shaftstop armor, and quite honestly, it's just a beast of a piece of equipment. If you ever do find an ethereal Shaftstop armor, you probably want to upgrade it, socket it, and put something nice in it and utilize it on a mercenary, because they are definitely solid pieces of equipment. Especially at level 38, as I said earlier, when you find this piece of equipment at level 38, it's just absolutely amazing for your character. Most of the time, you're not going to have something better at level 38 than a Shaftstop for a melee character. Moving on, we also have some other interesting items here. One that I've actually come across quite a few times and was surprised at how well this item works, and this is the Fleshripper Fanged Knife. The Fleshripper Fanged Knife is an extremely fast, extremely nice weapon for a lot of characters. I've recently utilized one in a Whirlwind Barbarian to great effect. It can also be utilized as an offhand for a smiter. The sheer number of effects that the Fleshripper Fang Knife has is amazing. I mean, it has negative 50% targets defense, which makes it insanely easier to hit the targets. 25% crushing blow, 33% deadly strike, 50% chance of open wounds, prevent monster heal, and even slows target by 20%. All of which are just absolutely amazing to have on a weapon. And even if you're just utilizing this as an offhand on a Frenzy Barbarian, or maybe you're utilizing this as a main hand weapon on a Smite Paladin, there are a lot of different choices that you can have for this. You can find the ethereal version, and you can put a Zod rune in it, and you can utilize it for a Blade Fury, Blade Shield, Blade Sentinel Assassin. You don't even have to put a Zod rune in it as long as you only stick to Blade Fury. And there are a couple characters actually that don't burn durability and can use the ethereal version without a Zod in it. And the non-ethereal version actually works really well if you put a shale rune in it for a little bit of increased attack speed. And basically what you're getting out of this is you're getting a weapon that is applying all of these beautiful effects. I mean, how can you not like 25% crushing blow, 33% deadly strike, 50% open wounds, prevent monster heal, and slows target by, all in one nice, neat little package. And it actually does a pretty decent amount of damage as well, which is pretty sweet. The only real downside to the Fleshripper Fang Knife is the range the item. But if you're using it as an offhand smiter weapon, which is what I like to do, the range doesn't matter because, you know, you're smiting. You're hitting with your shield. You're not hitting with your weapon. So the range of this doesn't matter. The durability does, however, so you will eventually break this if you're using it as an offhand smiting weapon. And that's where the the ethereal Zodded version comes in, because it's interesting. Because it's a dagger, it's already extremely fast, so even just an additional 20% IAS is more than enough. In fact, I'm pretty sure that you can hit the maximum breakpoint with the Fleshripper Fang Knife fairly easily. Moving on to the next item on the list is the Moser's Blessed Circle. The Moser's Blessed Circle is one of these like crazy unique items that you find, and it doesn't really seem like a whole lot when you first find it. But quite honestly, it's probably one of like the best shields that you can just toss onto a character, and fix like your resistances or whatever it is that you need to do. Because it has two sockets, always two sockets, it is highly customizable. You could, for instance, put 2 diamonds in it, which is one of the easiest things that you can do, and now all of a sudden you've got an all resistance 63 shield with very nice block rate. Moser's Blessed Circle also upgrades very well because the block chance goes up when you upgrade it by quite a bit, and can be utilized all the way through Nightmare and Hell difficulty with great effect. Moser's Blessed Circle is one of those really nice items that you'll find all the time, and it's definitely nice to have one sitting around to throw on a character to help fix your resistances. 63 all res is kind of hard to beat at level 31. And for most characters, it's going to fix your resistances for quite some time. Another item on the list is the Azurewrath Phaseblade. The Azurewrath Phaseblade has a lot of amazing effects on it, and if you happen to find an Azurewrath, it is kind of insane of an item, especially if you don't have much better at that particular time. There are a couple reasons for this, and I'm kind of going to go over them. So the first, right off the bat, is the level requirement on this is wrong for some reason. It's level 85. I don't know why it says level 54. I have to check my files. It has the Sanctuary Aura. So the Sanctuary Aura actually strips physical immunity from undead monsters. So any undead monster that you come across will, number one, take insanely higher amount of physical damage, and number two, if they are immune, is a very good chance that you will break the physical immunity of the undead monster, which makes Azurewrath a very amazing item to utilize in Chaos Sanctuary. It also has a very nice speed as well. Because it is a phase blade, it's already very fast at a negative 30 base, and it has an amazing 30% increased attack speed on it as well, which makes it extremely fast of a weapon. You're going to need very little increased attack speed to hit the max breakpoint with this particular item. We also have a massive amount of cold and magic damage. And as I talked about previously in one of my other videos, magic damage is one of those amazing things that, since most monsters have literally no resistances to magic damage, it's like 3 times the rated value in concert to something like the cold damage. So if we're talking about the cold damage, most monsters have cold resistances. They have anywhere between 20 to like 90% cold resistances, and not counting, of course, the ones that are immune. And so when you are playing through the game, that cold resistance is constantly being cut by half, or sometimes even more than half, sometimes by 75%. So that rated value, the 500 cold damage, is not anywhere near as good as the 500 magic damage, which is almost always going to be applying as its full rated value. There are very few monsters that actually do have a resistance to cold to magic damage, and guess what? They're undead. So usually, when you come across an undead monster who is immune to magic, immune to the 500 magic damage on the item, your Sanctuary Aura is going to basically annihilate them. The only real downside to this item, in my opinion, is the Sanctuary Aura's knockback. Sometimes, especially in Chaos Sanctuary, you can accidentally knock Grand Visor of Chaos off the platform, and then he doesn't drop anything, which is kind of sad. All in all, though, Azurewrath is one of those items that if you get your hands on it and you don't have, like a freaking Last Wish or a Grief Sword or something like that just sitting around, Azurewrath can very easily carry you through Hell difficulty with ease. Moving on to the next item, because we have quite a few here, is the Infernostride Demon Hide Boots. The Infernostride Demon Hide Boots are something that before 2.4 wasn't like super duper amazing. I mean, they're okay boots, but after 2.4, now that they have the 5% chance to cast level 8 Blaze Wind Struck, Blaze has been modified to give you faster run walk in addition to the fire effect. So as you level up Blaze, you get a very nice level of faster run walk every single level up to the level of level 8. And just to show you guys real quick, on the character, we have a Blaze right here, which is level 15, and it has a faster run walk speed of 32%. The other thing to consider here, though, which is rather interesting, is that the faster run walk that it gives you is outside of the normal faster run walk breakpoint. It's kind of hard to give people an accurate number, because even though it says 18% faster run walk here as a level 8 Blaze, so that's our number, it is a lot more than that. When you have faster run walk on, for instance, your boots, that is a separate calculation than faster run walk that's given to you from, say, Frenzy or Blaze or Vigor. These things are considered like skill-based faster run walk. Skill-based faster run walk and item-based faster run walk are separate calculations. So when you see the 18% increased faster run walk speed here, it's actually a lot higher than just simply 18%. It's going to make your character run around like Sanic the Hedgehog. We also have some other interesting items here on the list. One of them is the Guardian Angel Templar Coat. The Guardian Angel Templar Coat can be found in two forms. You can find it in its ethereal form, and you can also find it in its non-ethereal form. The Guardian Angel Templar Coat is made for paladins, yes, and that +1 to paladin is the one thing that does not transfer between characters. But ignoring the +1 to paladin, we have an armor which is extremely defensive, much in the same way that the Swordguard Executioner's Sword is extremely defensive. This Guardian Angel Templar Coat is also extremely defensive. We have 30% faster block rate, 20% increased chance of blocking, both of which are absolutely amazing to make your character tankier. And then on top of that, we've got a huge defensive number, especially in the ethereal version, of 1,236, combined with an amazing +15 to all maximum resistances, which means that no matter what character you put this on, if you're putting it on a character that has a decent amount of resistances, you're going to bring your resistances up above the cap, which is absolutely amazing. Let me bring my character just to Nightmare difficulty, just so I can show you, because she is missing most of her equipment here. I'm not really sure where I stripped all her equipment to, but it is gone. As you can see here, my caps are all 75%. And as soon as I put on the Guardian Angel Templar Coat, all my caps are now 90%, and I'm capable of resisting 90% of damage from elements. In the ethereal version, you can utilize this on mercenaries to great effect to help protect them from pretty much everything. If you take this, for instance, and you pair it up with a Kira's Guardian, I believe it's the diadem or circlet or tiara or whatever it is. It has all resistances and cannot be frozen, and the all resistances from Kira's combined with the maximum resistances from the Guardian Angel Templar code will make your mercenary have a amazing resistance level. As you can see here in Nightmare difficulty, he doesn't need the Kira's, but he's sitting at 90% all res. And this is one of the ways that you can make your mercenary incredibly tanky. Now, of course, you can also upgrade the Guardian Angel Templar code, and it upgrades amazingly, and the defense is extremely nice on the Ethereal version. So if you ever find a very nice Ethereal Guardian Angel Templar code, don't throw it away. Hold on to that bad boy. They have some very amazing uses, especially in Trav farmers. Trav farmers love Guardian Angel Templar codes because there's so much elemental damage being slung around in a Trav farm. You got the Hydras, you've got the cold damage, you've got the lightning damage, you've got the poison damage, all of which is trying to kill your mercenary, and you don't want your mercenary to die if you're Trav farming. And so Guardian Angel Templar code is an amazing one for Trav farming. Of course, you can socket it with like a 15% IAS jewel to make him attack faster. You could put an rune in there so that he has more resistances. There are a lot of different options for the Guardian Angel Templar code. And it's not just for mercenaries. If any character really can get good use out of the Guardian Angel Templar code, because number one, it's going to increase their maximum resistances to 90%, which is amazing. And number two, it also can help you with your faster blocking and your increased chance of blocking. So if you do, for instance, want to be like a blocking sorceress or something like that, it's going to allow you to get your block chance a lot higher, a lot easier. For instance, let me go ahead and reset her because she's running 260 dexterity. And at 260 dexterity, she's at 75% block chance. But if I were to reset her, and let's just give her enough strength so she can utilize her shield, and now she has a 19% block chance. If I throw Guardian Angel Templar code on, now I'm at 26% block chance. Just like that by putting on just one piece of equipment. And I won't have to build my dexterity anywhere near as high to get that 75% because the very nice extra block chance that it's giving me means that I don't need to. As you can see before, I had a huge amount of dexterity, but now I only have 197 to hit that 75% block chance. If I take it off, though, I go back down to 55% block chance, and that is a huge difference between 75 and 55% just for putting on one piece of equipment. So as you can imagine, not only are we getting super nice extra block chance, we're getting faster block rate, which is going to help our block breakpoints, and then we also get our amazing plus maximum resistances, which could make us extremely tanky. Guardian Angel Templar code is definitely a very, 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 very amazing item. Next on the list, we have Crainte Vomir. Crainte Vomir is an item that made it onto this list because of its kind of amazing statistics for a Frenzy Barbarian. In fact, you know what? Let me go to a Frenzy Barbarian specifically for that purpose. All right, so this item is the Crainte Vomir, which I believe means fear vomit. Yeah, let that stick in your mind. Fear vomit, the fear vomit Espandon. So this weapon is kind of an amazing one because it has 20% faster run walk on it. It has 50% increased attack speed, which is amazing. 50% is a lot of percent. We also have a pretty decent damage on this with slows target 35%, negative 70 monster defense per hit, and then on top of all that, if that wasn't enough, it also has a pretty massive 10% damage reduced by, which if used in combination with a second one would give you a 20% damage reduction to all incoming physical damage. And if you were to pair it up with something like a Shaftstop, for instance, you would have a total of 50% damage reduction with just 3 items. You wouldn't need to wear something like a Rockstopper Sallet, a string of ears, or anything like that. I mean, you literally have 50% damage reduction right here with just 3 items. With a relatively low level of level 42, it actually comes in pretty handy on a Frenzy Barbarian. Unfortunately, it can't be utilized on the new Frenzy Merc because he can only use one-handed items, which is kind of sad. but not like a huge big deal. But the combination of all the effects on this weapon make it a very interesting weapon for either a offhand or just simply doubling up two of them. We're talking about a huge increase in the speed of your character, not only the run and walk speed of your character, but also the speed that you swing at, including the speed that the monster runs at, because now he's going to be slower. So you're moving faster, the monster's moving slower, and they're doing less damage to you. This weapon, of course, can be upgraded to the elite version, and it can also be Zodded in the ethereal version. And with a pretty decent amount of damage of 225 to 423 two-handed and 99 to 252 one-handed, it's actually not a bad offhand weapon for defensive purposes. I mean, you've got to imagine that if you're taking 10% less damage, the monster is moving 35% slower, and you are moving 20% faster. All of this is going to come in handy to help keep you alive. On top of that, you've also got negative 70 monster defense per hit, which also means that you're going to be landing more blows on your targets. It could also be a very interesting item to combine with other defensive pieces, specifically for a very highly defensive character. It really kind of works out on Sanic the Hoochag, because Sanic the Hoochag, well, you know, he likes to run fast. That's his whole job in life. He even has a burst of speed, because why not? And he runs Frenzy. Where's my Frenzy at? Why do I not have Frenzy? Sanic the Hoochag needs Frenzy. Sanic the Hoochag is all about running fast. That's his entire goal in life. He doesn't have any other goal. He just wants to run fast. Like this. Sorry, every time I'm on Sanic the Hoochag, I can't control myself. I just have to run fast. It's very important. I keep hitting roadblocks, though. It's very difficult to control Sanic the Hoochag speed. I mean, it's kind of like being the Flash and then just like running straight into a wall by accident because you're so fast you can't control your speed. Anyway, Crainte Vomir is definitely an underrated weapon for sure. It's one of those items that just it's a very interesting defensively, and it's also very interesting offensively as well. And utilized on a barbarian in combination with, say, another very nice weapon in the other offhand slot, you can definitely get some very nice good use out of it. It's also very pretty too. I don't know if you've ever actually looked at the Crainte Vomir, but it's a very pretty sword. Let me put on the non-ethereal version so you can really see it. It's just a really cool looking sword. Moving on, though, to the next item on the list is the Headstriker sword. So the Headstriker sword is one that I believe gets underestimated a lot, just simply because it has such simple statistics. When you look at it, it doesn't necessarily seem like a whole lot. I mean, it has max damage based on character level, and especially on a lower level character, you might not necessarily realize that that max damage based on character level is pretty massive and continues to rise with you as you level up your character. It also has Deadly Strike based on character level, which will double your physical damage, which is also just amazing. And then the Prevent Monster Heal, of course, is also nice to have on there as well, because it just makes it a lot easier to kill targets that aren't regenerating. But the real beauty of the Headstriker is when you find the ethereal version, because the ethereal version can be upgraded into the Conquest Sword, and it is honestly one of the highest damage weapons that you can possibly put on the two-handed Act 5 Barbarian, and it also works extremely well on the new Frenzy Barbarian. Deadly Strike is just massive. Having a 100% Deadly Strike means that every single attack that you make will deal double damage no matter what. And utilizing this, especially on characters that do not have Deadly Strike, is one of the best uses of the Headstriker sword. Take, for instance, a Paladin, a Druid. Those characters are melee characters that really have absolutely no form of critical strike or deadly strike inherent to their character. So having a 100% deadly strike weapon to dish out your damage even harder and even faster, is definitely a good thing. The ethereal version doesn't even really need a Zod rune, because most of the time you're going to be utilizing it on a Mercenary. The non-ethereal version is also actually pretty good at level 39 and can carry you very well through Nightmare difficulty all the way up into Hell. And if you upgrade it into the Conquest Sword, it actually works pretty good in Hell difficulty too. The only real downside to using this in Hell difficulty is when you encounter physical immunes, you're going to have another way of dishing out damage to those physical immunes. Deadly Strike, however, does not work on things like Vengeance because of the way that it converts damage, so keep that in mind. And then on top of that, it has 15 extra strength on there so that you can utilize more equipment, especially if you're putting this on a mercenary who needs extra strength. The 15 extra strength may help them put on a piece of armor or a helmet that they need at any given time, which is always nice to have. And then last, I think, on my list, I'm not 100% sure. Let me double check my list here. Yep, Infernostrides, Shaftstop, Swordguard, Moser's Blessed Circle, Azurewrath, Guardian Angel, Headstriker, Crainte Vomir, Fleshripper, and last but not least, the Rockstopper Salad. The Rockstopper Salad is is one of those crazy items that just kind of gets thrown to the side for some reason that people don't really understand is actually insane. Especially if you can find a Rockstopper in its perfect form. So the Rockstopper does have some rather terrible rolls. It rolls between, like 20 and 40 cold and like 20 and 40 lightning and like 30 and 50 fire and so forth and so on. And so sometimes when you find it, it's in a really poor condition. But the Rockstopper has an amazing defensive capability to just like almost completely fix a character's defenses. Number one is the 30% faster hit recovery, which will do very well to fix many characters' problems. Even a sorceress, you could even utilize this on a sorceress to help keep your faster hit recovery in check. As we talked about earlier with the Blood Fist Heavy Gauntlets, 30% faster hit recovery is a lot of faster hit recovery and is going to increase your faster hit recovery breakpoint massively. We also have a very nice defense on this helmet with a rather low strength requirement, which means most characters can put this helmet on with ease. We also have 15 vitality on here to give you extra life, which of course is going to vary depending on the character that puts this on, but it's still a very nice amount of extra life. Then we get 40% cold resistance, 40% lightning resistance, 50% fire resistance, which will actually help to offset the spirit shield. And then we also have a damage reduced by of 10%, and it can be socketed. And you can add even more niceness into this. You could put an rune for even higher resistances. You could put an IAS jewel for 15% IAS. You could even put a shale rune in here, and you could cap off the faster hit recovery to 50%, and you probably wouldn't need faster hit recovery from any other source. You can utilize this on a mercenary to make your mercenary incredibly tanky. You could also utilize this with other damage reduced by pieces of equipment to get your damage reduced by up to the 50% cap. The Crainte Vomir has 10%, and this is 10. That's 20. If you were using two Crainte Vomirs, that's 30% right there. Or if you paired it along with a Shaftstop, you could have very easily 40% damage reduction very, very quickly. And on a mercenary, for instance, that would be an extremely nice tank option to make your mercenary a lot tankier versus those evil monsters that are trying to murder them. It actually has a pretty decent amount of resistances too, which means that number one, you've got a really nice amount of faster hit recovery to help your merc keep your merc from getting locked into those faster hit recovery stun locks. And then on top of that, now he's got 40% damage reduction. So even when he is getting hit, he's not going to get hit that hard. And the extra resistances on top of all that is going to make sure that he's not getting annihilated by the elemental damage. Rockstopper Saleh is definitely a very, very nice one to hang on to, and that's the reason why it's made it into the top 10 most underrated uniques. I think we've covered everything, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode of top 10 most underrated uniques. If I missed a unique, put it down in the comments. I'd like to hear what you think is one of the most underrated uniques. Tell me what time you used one of these items to the utmost value. Like solo self-found playthroughs. Those are, I think, where a lot of these items really shine. Because if you happen to find an amazing Shaftstop on a solo self-found run, it can like literally change the way that your character plays. Same thing for something like the Rockstopper Saleh or the Moser's Blessed Circle. A lot of these items will come in extremely handy on solo self-found characters. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, and keep watching.